Okay, BugeyeBob back here again, restoring this 1958 Austin Healey Bugeye Sprite. And in Great Britain, they refer to that as the Frog Eye Sprite, which I'm pretty sure they do just to piss off the French. But if you know, you know. Anyways, let's talk about what we got going on here. So I'm hoping to get around to replacing the sills. I will do the one on the other side first, but I'm not going to tell you that reason right now. What we're going to talk about right now is the bracing that I've put in. So I've put in bracing going from here to here across the door opening, here to here across the door opening, and then across X in here to tie these together. Everything should be square. I'm using these cheap angle irons, which I bought at a local secondhand store. I kind of recommended that you use those, but I think you need to be aware of a couple things. Don't ever, 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 ever use these these angle irons, these are from beds, the bed frames. Don't ever use bed frame angle iron in a situation where you're going to put a lot of stress on it or where you might put your life at risk. So you never want to use this stuff where you're going to go underneath of the car for whatever reason. Don't even think about it. And the reason is, as I discovered today and had a clue about before, because one of them, I took out one of these braces one time and it just seemed to kind of pop loose real easy, and I didn't think about it much. But then today I started putting in these cross braces, and when I put in this one and clamped it down up here, I heard a ping, and that ping was from this weld up here breaking. And a little bit of testing, and what I discovered was, if you don't burn these in really deep, your welds, this metal acts almost as bad as cast iron when you weld it. I think it's got a lot of carbon in it because it's made out of cheap junk steel, and whatever they can throw in and call it steel is going to be, it's got 90% Chinesium in it, however that stuff is. But they call it steel. So that's where these bed frames, it's fine in this purpose, it's locked in. I did have to heat this up here and bend it a little bit to make it have enough room to where I could clamp these both together and get everything locked in place. But that's where we're at. So the other thing that I've done so far is I have gone in and worked on the caps for these braces. These had to tie into these pieces. The older ones were a little bit shorter right in this area right here, and the older ones also curved back around. These just came up straight. So I hammered and pounded them, and then took a couple more pieces of metal and bodged in patches, and then added about 3 pounds of weld material. And I'll have to do some grinding, and then I'll probably have to go back and do some more patching, because undoubtedly there's going to be little tiny holes or whatever I missed, and when it's done, it's going to be solid as all hell, but it's going to have rug over it so you won't see it. I might change my mind. I was planning on putting in this inner and outer sill on the other side first. I might do it on this side first. The problem I've got is I've got to figure out how to anchor this stuff down when I cut out these braces right there. I cut out that brace right there, And then it's hard to see, but there's another brace right here. So I would have to cut out a brace on one side, weld in the floor pan, and do the other. Oh, I know why I was going to do the other side first. Dummy me. The reason for doing the other side first is because I have to install the gas pedal pieces and make sure that all of the clutch brake and gas pedal pieces all fit in here properly. The ones that I've got, I think, are kind of junk. I bought some on eBay. Should be here within, I don't know, 5 or 6 days. So to carry on, I'll probably get into the figuring out how to do the sill on the other side. Got to figure out something for these attachments where the bottom of the car is attached to this rotisserie frame. And got some ideas. We'll figure that out. And waiting for the weather to get a little bit cooler outside so I can take it out and get some more grinding done. We're hitting that cooler time of year though, so the odds are getting in my favor. Okay, let's talk about taking off these sills and replacing them. So I've gone through and drilled out. Let's see if you can see this. I think you can. Yeah. So I've gone through and drilled holes through using 2 different types of bits. One of them cuts a hole out through the top plate, the top surface of the 2 layers, and the other one just cuts through the very top surface. Now, the reason I'm doing that is in these spots, I've got this piece here I'm trying to save. But these places here where I've drilled through like that, it doesn't matter because those, both pieces are coming off. So in one instance, I'm trying to save the piece that's there. In the other instance, I know I'm replacing both pieces. Things went pretty good until I got back right in here. And I had the suspicion that this piece was resistance or spot welded to this piece. And so what I did was I undid all of these edges along through here, and then I bent this piece up till I could get in with a drill and start drilling holes out, and it was a bit of a pain in the ass to do that. But eventually I was able to get this piece all the way off. As you can see, it was damaged up front and it's pretty well rusted all through and everything. Set that over here for now. And we'll talk about what I find inside of here. So here's where all those little spot welds were, and it was a lot of spot welds. I don't know how they got in to spot weld it, because this piece here is spot welded to the inside of this, and it's part of the whole wheel well assembly. And the only place that you can come down through to possibly get a spot welder in would be right through that little hole right there. But I don't know how the hell you would get a spot welder through on the inside over there or over here on this side. I guess what I could do is try to come in, maybe cut through this piece here, cut this out, and then get in with the tongs on both sides with my spot welder, and then be able to spot weld this in that way. I don't know if that'll work or not. We'll just have to The problem with cutting this piece out to get the spot welder in is, yeah, you may be able to cut it out, but you still got to be able to weld that back together, and that's a difficult place to get into to weld. Not sure how to deal with all of that. I guess I'll get that figured out at some point, though. So what I took off was the outer sill. So let's look at the inner sill now. I had to cut the inner sill loose from this piece, which is, yeah, there's an inner piece here and an outer piece, and I had to cut it away from both of them. Come down through here, down in here, cut this all away from the footwell area. And then this piece, it's got to come away up there, it's got to come off of the jacking cross member, and then it's actually slides up behind all of this back into there. And as you can see, it's quite the mess. Now then, compare the old and the new pieces. So this is the replacement inner sill, and it will mount back up like this. Let's look at the mess. A little bit out of sequence here. I'll take care of that in editing. So let's look at the mess that's left over. So this piece here is rusted out right in here. It's got a big hole in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut another piece of metal and patch this in and repair this around up through there. And this is okay. This has got to be hammered back together and spot welded back together. Right there. Now on each end, there's a piece that goes in here like this. It's a filler piece. It goes, that's for the outer cell filler. Fills the end up there. Back here, on this end, there's another piece that goes in right there. One of my concerns is the original sill closure piece. It's probably got to go something like that. The original one has a bit of a bow to it right here, I think. This one doesn't, so I don't know how I'm going to get that shape in there. Maybe I don't need to worry about it. Maybe the outer sill's got the shape already. I don't know. I'll have to check that out. Anyways, I've got to grind all the dust, all the rust and crap off of this right here, get this all cleaned, get this all fixed up so I can get this piece, get this piece welded back in here, patch piece welded in there, get everything back in shape. And then once I get everything back in shape, this piece will go in right here, something like that, and the new sill, new outer sill, will go on something like this. Let's see, where's it? That's got to go there. So this piece has to be welded to this one. Eventually this will all get welded. This one looks like this is a little bent up here, so I've got to straighten it out to get it to fit right. This has additional cutouts in it that the old one doesn't have. Drop out of there. These get spot welded, the inner and outer get spot welded to each other. The inner gets spot welded to this piece, and then the outer gets spot welded up around here. And again, this end closure goes on that end roughly like that. And this other closure goes on this end at the back, roughly like that. And hopefully when you get all done, you have a nice solid sill or rocker panel. This has holes here, an additional hole here. I don't know if you can see that. So this has an additional hole here. It's also got a big, huge bolt hole here, which I'm wondering if that's maybe for something like a roll bar to mount into. It seems odd that, but that's like a, hell, I don't know, a 12 millimeter, 14 millimeter, something like that. Then of course, this piece here also has to be spot welded. These here get spot welded to this inner piece. Had I known I was going to be able to get my hands on a spot welder, I never would have bothered punching all of the holes in these, but it won't hurt anything. I can plug weld those up and life will still be good. I will have to strip all of this coating off. This is some of that weird coating that I mentioned in a prior episode. It looks and acts like India ink, but what they say it is, I checked with the people who supplied me with the parts, and they say that coating is electrodeposited primer. And it's designed to keep the metal from rusting, but you need to put regular primer over the top of it when you're done. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. Like I said, I still got to clean all this up. There's a little bit of repair work I got to do up in here. I got to clean all of this up front. Come on, damn it. I've got to clean all of this up front. I've got to put in a repair piece here to fix that. Some hammer and dolly work. And once that's all done, then I'll be able to spot weld the inner sill plate in, and once the inner sill plate is in, I will be able to spot weld the outer sill plate on to the inner sill plate and this panel. And at that point, this side of the vehicle will be relatively structurally sound. I got a bad oil can right there I've got to do something about. I think I'm going to have to do a little bit of heat and dolly work to get that to where it doesn't oil can anymore. I may show doing it. What needs to happen is this is stretched right in here. So I'm going to need to heat shrink this down by heating it up in a spot and then sticking a dolly behind it. Heating it up in a spot. I'm going to need to fix it by hit it up in some of these spots, bright red, then immediately hammer and dollying it down to compress the metal in that area, and then when it cools, it will tighten back up. So gotta get rid of that. I might wait until I get this repair piece put in here, because there's a possibility that this piece is going to have the same sort of thing done to it. It's just, it's tough when you have to put in a butt weld in a flat piece of metal. Especially when you're not really great at it. I'm getting better, but you know, it's learning. That is it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Jump over to Patreon and join there at $4 a month if you can. If you can do it, make a donation on PayPal. Links down below for both PayPal and Patreon. And let me know if you use Rumble very much, because I'm thinking about putting all these videos up on Rumble. Still considering putting up a GoFundMe. If you think a GoFundMe is a good idea, put something in the comments. If you have questions about what I'm doing, please put those questions in the comments. If you think I'm doing it wrong, let me know. This is the first major restoration project that I've ever taken on. I worked on a 65 Jeep and 1958 Crestliner aluminum boat. Aluminum, had fun welding that. So this is, kind of all new stuff to me. This is kind of all structural stuff. Once we get through with the structural stuff, then we get into the look of the vehicle, of the bonnet, the hood, what we in the U.S. call a hood. That's got to have a lot of work done on it. The rear end, the last 18 inches of this thing, got to have a lot of work done on it. But finally getting to the point where we're seeing some progress. So stick around, and thank you very much. You folks have a blessed life. BugeyeBob, over and out.